will now be recorded.
Okay, I'd like to call the Plan Commission to order for Tuesday, August 10th. Roll call, please.
Mayor Kadowski,
Here.
Jake Critter,
Here.
Steve Kubacki,
Here.
Gary Paul,
Here.
and Allen and Skippington and Campbell are excused.
Okay, please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please always remember the men and women throughout the world protecting us in uniform. Okay, I have no changes to the agenda. If I need a motion to approve, please.
Move to approve as presented. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, action on the minutes from the regular meeting of July 6, 2021.
Move to approve.
Second. A motion and a second to approve those minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 6, comments from the public must be limited to items not on the agenda. Must state your name and address. You are limited to 5 minutes. The board's role is to listen and not discuss the item. Personnel items cannot be discussed nor individuals named, and the board is not able to take action at this meeting. Is there any comments from the public about anything not on tonight's agenda? Any comments from the public about items not on the agenda? Okay, moving on. Action items, number 7. 7A, action regarding site plan review for revised the Bohemian Park, Phase 2, 2100 Homegrown Way, Parcel VA-67-A-2. Erin.
Okay. The requested site plan review actually is a resubmittal of a previously approved site plan for the Bohemian Park Phase 2. What I'll do is I'll just bring up the some of the information here. Overall, really nothing has changed from the original submittal except for the building being lowered one level. It was a 5-story 69-unit building. As proposed, it will now be a 4-story 52-unit building. The results were basically the cost of materials, as we're pretty much all aware, have gone through the roof. As a result, the 5-story just didn't pencil out. What they did was they took out basically one of the middle floors and just brought the building down one level. So the overall dimension of the building in terms of its mass and its shape still is there. And let's get to the renderings here at the end. So as you can see, it still does have the retail use at the corner of Morris and Homegrown. Has the patio area for entertainment, outdoor dining, and then has the 4 stories of apartment units above that. So again, just the renderings, again, just bringing it down one level. But because there was a substantial change to the original plan, it did have to come back through site plan review, including Plan Commission and Village Board. The conditions of approval, recommended staff conditions of approval are the same as the original one. I'm now of an age where I need cheater glasses. All metal panels are to utilize concealed fasteners. All ground-mounted and roof-mounted mechanical units and associated materials need to be screened from view from the subject property line and right-of-way boundaries. The catch-all meet all applicable parts of 17.2-200, all other applicable parts of the Ashwaubenon Municipal Code. In terms of engineering, contact utility operations supervisor for a quote on connecting to village water main and stubbing 8-inch line to development. Cost to be charged to the development and includes restoration of road and sidewalk. From stormwater, verify functionality of existing bioretention area and complete any maintenance required. Protect the existing bioretention area with appropriate erosion control measures. From public safety, again, pretty standard conditions. Confirm the fire lane provided on the west side of the building to be 24 feet in width and turning radius is adequate for fire apparatus. Knox box required near the main entrance to the building. provide additional private hydrant on the west side of the building, and work with public safety on the exact location. Moving on, forestry recommended to approve as presented, and Bike and Ped was pleased with the indoor bicycle storage, as well as a couple pods for bikes that they have included inside. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, Mariana Arena from the architecture firm Engberg Anderson, representing the applicant, is online.
I would just like to say that even though we unfortunately had to lower the building one floor, it still is a beautiful building, you know, the way it's designed, the materials it uses, so it's still very eye-catching.
Well,
I
the other
appreciate it.
building is 4 stories, correct? If I remember right, didn't we go up one? with that?
Correct. The existing building on Homegrown is 4 stories.
And we had to make a special approval in order to do that, right?
So the 5-story did have a PUD amendment to allow for an increase in height up to, I believe it was 65 feet.
Curiosity question, what are we talking about a savings that's by taking out that floor? Purely a curiosity question.
I couldn't even take a guess at it. Knowing today's prices, it's outside my realm. Mariana, do you have any input on that?
Yeah, sure. With the original building with basement and 5th floor, we was around $21 million. Like average between 5 different general contract, and right now low enough floor is around $4 million less. We still looking for we have a general contract selected, and we are looking for a budget right now. We have a meeting next Thursday to talk about that. So like we want to see final number for them. So, but we want around that number was what different 5 general contract give us. So we're trying to go a little lower of that, of course, but that's the general numbers right now. We know that the lumber is going lower. It's going down with numbers, and different materials are going down. But 2 months ago, that's like approximate number that we had for the 4 levels.
Has this impacted the when the start date is or when it's going to be completed? Any of those things?
So we already have a state approval for footing and foundations, and we are planning to submit for plan review, the entire plan review building next week. So one time that the owner decide in the budget and is sure about the general contract, we can start footing and foundations as soon as possible. So we're just waiting to confirm numbers. So if we can, maybe October is a good time to start footing and foundations. But it's not confirmed by owner yet.
Okay. Any other questions?
As Erin said, it's been gone through site plan. This is the second wall building that I thought would come to Ashwaubenon. I'm kind of disappointed in it not being 5-story, because it would be a good piece of property on that corner to really represent their product that they're trying to achieve when they're done with this project. But it still looks nice. Just too bad that the building costs are so high today that we got to do this. So there's no other questions. I'll move to approve the project as presented, lowering 1 floor with staff conditions.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve as presented, lowering it 1 floor with staff conditions. Any more comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
So this then will go on to the
Thank
village
you,
board
everybody.
meeting at the end of the month.
Village Board, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, 7B, action on a request for an accessory garage and parking lot expansion for Capital Credit Union located at 825 Morris Avenue, parcel VA-67. Erin.
Okay, the proposal is for a new garage building for Capital Credit Union building on Morris Avenue. As you can see on the site plan, Right here is the current building, the credit union building. The garage is located right here. The credit union is actually going to be splitting off this property and selling it to a neighboring property, necessitating the need for the additional garage. The new garage will be located right here. We did have discussions with the applicant. The dumpster enclosure identified in the plan actually is located right here. That's going to be moved up to the garage to avoid any neighbor impacts. In terms of exterior materials, it will be masonry, similar to what you have on the existing Capital Credit Union building. One item that came up at Site Plan Review Committee, the applicant did ask for approval as either a pitched roof or a flat roof. The existing garage does have a flat roof consistent with the existing building. They're going through costing on that right now. They just like the option for either a pitched roof or a flat roof. From staff standpoint, we were fine with either. Both would meet our requirements. In terms of recommended conditions of approval, it's just the really the catch-all, meet all applicable requirements of 17-2-200, and that was really it. Representatives of the applicant, Capital Credit Union, are in the audience. Do you have any questions? Otherwise, I'm happy to answer them as well.
Any questions?
This, again, Erin stating, they did a good job of putting that together. It didn't originally come that way, but they did come to meet the ordinances that we do have and make it appealing to putting that dumpster up alongside the building. So it's a storage building. Everybody'd like to have a storage building like that, but if there's no other questions, I'll move to approve as presented with staff conditions.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve as presented with staff conditions. And also, Gary, did you want the pitched roof versus the flat roof? Do we want to say that?
Right, probably specify either the flat roof or the pitched roof.
It don't make a difference to them?
No, they're going through the costing process right now. It provides them the flexibility to have either a pitched roof or a flat roof. From a staff standpoint, it doesn't make a difference.
I'd prefer a pitched roof, but that's my own opinion.
So would you like to amend your motion to include that either a pitched or a flat roof?
Well, I'll go with the pitched or flat roof as presented.
Okay, and the second is okay with that?
Well, I'd like to see a
Yes.
pitched roof as well, because in Wisconsin, a pitched roof works a lot better than a flat roof.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
I will entertain the friendly amendment as proposed.
Okay, everybody understands? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Then this will also then be on the 24th Village Board meeting for final approval.
Okay. Thank you. 7C, action regarding amending section 17-6-500, Village of Ashwabnen Municipal Code relating to off-street parking. Erin.
I've been approached by a few restaurants who are interested in putting outdoor seating, permanent outdoor seating, adjacent to their places of business. What they're running into, and the reason for that obviously is issues related to COVID, as well as what they found is that people just really enjoy eating outside when it's nice out in Wisconsin. It's fleeting, obviously, but they do want to make sure that they accommodate that for their patrons. What a couple restaurants have run into is being precluded from adding the outdoor seating due to our off-street parking requirements. I thought, well, we should take a look at it and evaluate where we are in terms of off-street parking requirements as compared to some of our what I call peer communities. I took a look at other communities, as you can see up on screen, and it was in your packet. I looked at, obviously, ours, Green Bay, De Pere, Appleton, Oshkosh, and Wausau, just as other communities that have substantial commercial activity within their municipal boundaries. For the village of Ashwaubenon, for land uses identified, we have restaurants, taverns, supper clubs, cocktail lounges, and nightclubs kind of grouped together. And one thing to keep in mind when it comes to the off-street parking requirements is that historically, they are basically copied and pasted from one community to another, and they all actually go back to a 1950s era federal document that was based upon parking standards at the time, as far as what people think they might need. So there was no science behind these numbers. It was basically a best guess as far as what businesses might need. So I just want to put that out there, make sure it's clear. In terms of what we require currently is one space for each 2 persons based on maximum capacity plus 1 space per employee. I took that calculation and then based it upon a sample building, actually one of the restaurants that requested this amendment, 6,100 square foot restaurant, 4,000 gross customer space, 100-person capacity with 10 employees. Okay, so kind of a standard restaurant size. That came out to be 60 spaces required off-street for that business. So it has basically the 4,100 square foot or 6,100 square foot building, and we need 60 spaces of off-street parking. In looking at some of the peer communities, looking at their calculations for that same type of building, it ranges anywhere from what you see here is 20 spaces for Green Bay. Bear with me. 49 spaces for De Pere, 34 spaces for Appleton, 21 spaces for Oshkosh, 20 spaces for Wausau. At the site plan review committee meeting, we had good discussion as far as, some of these communities, they do have downtown areas where there is no parking, so they may not need as much off-street parking. What I tried to do is I tried to strike a balance between recognizing that some of these places do have they have public parking, they have ramps, so on and so forth. And what I thought, based upon conversations with these restaurant owners, what they feel they need, the 34 space, I guess, number that I came up with is calculated based upon a proposed requirement that makes it a little easier for me as zoning administrator to administer. The maximum capacity number is a fluid number, and it's difficult to pin down. So what I recommending currently is 1 space per 3 persons at maximum interior seating capacity, plus 1 space per 500 square foot exterior seating area. So it's kind of a middle ground between some of those other peer communities that we identified. The maximum interior seating capacity is easy to figure out. How many seats do you have? What we found out was that when COVID first hit and we had these restrictions as far as 50% capacity, people are calling up asking, well, what's my capacity? And there's different numbers out there. This helps us define that and say, okay, how many seats do you have? That's your capacity. The 500 square foot outdoor seating area, I believe, makes sense to include that factor in there because it does factor in. But what I found is that when it is nice out, people are sitting outside and the inside actually is not very busy. Again, that's just my personal anecdotal experience, but I think that does kind of hold, what other people have seen as well. So in addition to those off-street requirements there, 1 space per 3 persons at maximum interior seating capacity plus 1 space per 500 square foot exterior seating area, I wanted to build in some flexibility for the restaurant owners to be able to get written authorization to have some shared parking. So if there's a neighboring use, like say you have an office building next door, which is busy typically from 8 in the morning until 5 in the evening, and a restaurant is typically busy from 5 in the evening until say 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, that if there's written agreement, they can share those parking spaces and they can then count those towards their off-street parking requirement. Furthermore, I thought we do have places within the community where you have off-street parking, and people are going to utilize those. It seemed to make sense that we'd allow for some factor of allowing those to be factored in as well. And I thought generally within 50 feet of the property boundaries for off-street parking seems to make sense. It's kind of a round number that is easily quantifiable. So those numbers can be factored into that minimum off-street parking requirement, meant to provide some flexibility for the restaurant owners, some options for them to, I guess, actually provide some ability for them to expand their outdoor seating or, quite honestly, their indoor seating if they would so desire. So I did get a email I forgot to include in the packet from Darren Spindler of Heartland Pizza. I'll make sure to include that in the village board packet, voicing his support for the proposal. And Parker Johns, a recent addition to the village, also is very much in support of the proposal. But I know they'll be at the public hearing for village board. So that's the background, I guess, from whence we came, why this came up as an issue. And I thought I'd just bring it forward as an option for Site Plan Review Committee. They did recommend approval, but they did ask us to investigate, as far as the off-street parking, to take a look at if we can dedicate a few off-street parking stalls for ride-share programs. So an Uber or Lyft. There's a couple of Site Plan Review Committee members said, we see people using that in addition to, or maybe in place of, drive their own cars to restaurants or bars, just for obvious reasons. So I did talk that over with Tony Walkowitz, our village attorney, talked over with Brian Ewell, our public safety chief. We're taking a look at that and seeing how we can try to write that in an ordinance to dedicate a few spaces throughout the village, maybe for those ride share, and help facilitate that program and help mitigate the off-street parking requirements.
So for the 6,100 square foot restaurant, you shot for 34, which was kind of an average of other municipalities, correct?
Correct.
And then you also put into the code the ability to share parking, and that makes a lot of sense. That type of thing. I think what you've done here makes a lot of sense for us. Things have changed. The world has changed. The way people go out to eat has changed, and giving them some more space versus parking in the summer, that makes a lot of sense. I think you've done a good job here. I like the language you put in place.
Thank you. And I would like to stress that it's the minimum parking. So again, people can certainly have more parking. It's just this is a minimum required.
This is Corey, and I just want to say I agree with Steve Kubacki about a good way to address this issue, and it is a changing environment. I think it is a great job on doing that and trying to accommodate those who are trying to accommodate others. So thank you for your work on this.
Thank you.
I also want to say I commend the Site Planning Review Committee for coming up with the Uber because that is definitely a very needed thing now. That's going on constantly. If you're down in the sports entertainment district, it's constant. Lyft, Uber is coming in and out. So if they have designated spots, I think it'll also be from a safety standpoint better. Mm-hmm. Because right now they're picking them up on the roads, they're picking them up. So if there's designated spots that they know that they can go to, and also the patrons know to go there, it's just going to be better from a safety perspective. So kudos to the Site Plan Review for bringing that out.
We had quite a conversation on it. One of the members brought up the shared parking. I really think it's a good idea. If they're willing, if the patrons, let's back up. If the customers of the business want to lose parking to have outdoor seating, that's fine. I guess people are going to have to walk a little bit to get to an establishment that has lost a few parking spots. We've seen this for some time already where outdoor seating has been popular. I think Red Robin was, as long as I've been around, it's the one that always sticks in my mind, where they had outdoor seating and we got into the fencing and the gates, which way they turn and so on. It went on forever, but we kind of simplified that. There's a few places in town here, they know their busy nights, they expand their seating on the outside for those particular nights. Then they move it back in for the next day because it's a slower day for them. So I think it'll work out fine. I've been with an inspector once or twice on what is the legal seating. They were going by square feet. And that really complicated the formula that Erin's talking about. How many people can you seat? It's kind of a simple formula that he came up with. It's much simpler, and I believe it's more effective than the square foot of a building. So I don't have any problem with it. I think we should go ahead. I was the smart one to say, let's table that and get the shared parking involved in it, but these people that Erin talked about want to get going on it now, so I think it's a good way to go. I think we should approve this. The shared driving, we can work on that as this carries on, so let her go.
Is that a motion, Gary?
I'll make a motion to approve the off-street parking as presented by our economic development expert.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to recommend approval of amending section 17-6-500 Village of Ashwabnen Municipal Code relating to off-street parking. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everyone.
So there'll be a public hearing on this then at Village Board on August 24th.
Okay, number 8, items for next agenda. Do you have,
We will.
we
Yep,
will have items for next agenda. Okay.
definitely.
I need a motion to adjourn.
So move. Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Steve?
This conference is no longer